Today we're going to talk about how Brienne fumbled the bag real bad and went from thinking she was going to stay at a luxury 5-star hotel for free to actually having to pay $300 for a one-night stay. So let's talk about it. If you are new here, hi, my name is Brienne and I create content all around how to live your best life intentionally. We are currently on episode 2 of my series focusing on all of my 2026 travel diaries, and in this episode, I got to talk about a mistake I made in planning my Thailand trip. So in my last episode, I had talked about how I gave the breakdown of how much I spent on the trip, both getting to Thailand as well as while I was there. I also shared that specifically for this series, I'm going to talk about the week that I spent traveling solo. So mind you, the solo travel I was doing was on the heels of a very intensive 5-day boot camp with my coach. It also was on the heels of a 5-day retreat that I hosted with my lovely ladies in the Black Girl Getaway. And so the brain was a bit fried. She was not thinking all the way straight whenever she was planning for her solo travel. I'll also share that the retreat ended on my birthday, and I came to the realization that I will never experience a birthday solo ever again. I love solo travel and I love the time to just do whatever I want, whenever I want, how I want. But I was sad and lonely on my birthday. I'm not gonna lie. Like, after the girls left, I remember waving goodbye. They drove off, and I felt as though like a piece of my heart left with them. So that was like probably maybe around like 4 or 5 p.m. when they left. And then I was just sad. It was dark, it was rainy, it was cloudy, and I was by myself. But also, I think a big factor that went into this was that Thailand is 12 hours ahead of the US. So it was only like maybe my husband, my parents, my sisters, and like a few of my best friends had reached out to me like before I went to bed on my birthday. And so that was just like, dang, I feel forgotten. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I need to add all of this context before I share my miscalculations with thinking that I was just gonna have a free stay throughout my solo time. So birthday ended, my birthday was on November 19th. I ended up staying at an Airbnb for 2 nights because I had a Airbnb credit from when I was a host, and she was not just a host, but a super host. And as part of your super host status, you also get, I think it was like $100 credit towards towards like your own personal Airbnb stays. So I used that credit towards an Airbnb I found in Phuket, and that took care of like, I think it was like $150 total. So it took care of $100 out of that. So I was left with $50 for my hotel. I thought that's all I was gonna have to pay for my hotels for the entire time that I was on the solo trip. Now, when I left that Airbnb, I knew I wanted to go to a nice 5-star hotel to really like pamper myself and enjoy the IHG hospitality that I was used to. So there's a hotel called the Dinso Resorts in Phuket, and I'll drop the link to that in the description. But when I came across that hotel, I was like, okay, I could either use my IHG points for this, or I could use my Amex Platinum rewards. Now, with the Amex Platinum card, they recently switched over to providing you with $600 of hotel credits every year. It used to be only $300 if I remember correctly. So I knew that I wanted to use the $300 for the second half of the year. Context. So the $600, it's split across the year. So you have to use the first $300 within the first 2 quarters of the year, and then the second $300 between the second 2 quarters of the year. So I had that $300 to use in Thailand. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be strategic about this and find a hotel where it's around $300, and therefore, like, ideally I don't have to come out of pocket for that stay. So I went in the Amex Platinum back end in their travel side, and I found the Dinso in there, and I was like, period, this is great. Not only was the Denso in the travel catalog, it was also, I'm saying catalog, but what is it? Like portal, the travel portal. Not only was it in the travel portal, but it was also $300, I have it right here, $300.39, including taxes, fees, and all of that, right? So I said, period, I win. And so I went ahead and booked it. And I remember, I think I booked it like the day before because there was, originally I wanted to stay on the beach, but the weather was just not it at the time. And so I said, okay, if it's going to be rainy and cloudy, it doesn't make sense for me to be on the beach. So I'm going to go find a hotel that still has like a luxurious vibe and feel, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily have to be feeling like I missed out because I wasn't beachside and outside and all that. So I get to the Denso and I'm checking in and I was like, yeah, I use my Amex Platinum. Looking forward to early check-in because with the Amex Platinum, you actually get 12 p.m. check-in if it's available, 4 p.m. checkout the next day, which is one of my favorite perks. You also get free breakfast for two. So that was also why I was like, okay, I can save money on, food as well through that. Room upgrades, I've gotten a few. It's been hit or miss, but they provide room upgrades for the Amex Platinum card as well. And then usually there's like I'm trying to think. Oh, and then there's $100 credit that you can use towards like if the hotel that you're staying at has like parking, or if you want to use it towards more food, drinks, all that, like that's typically included as well. So I'm in here like, okay, I'm about to be pampered. I'm gonna get all these perks. I'm checking in and they're like, yeah, you booked through Expedia. I was like, I don't even have an Expedia account. Like, there's no way. So this check-in process took about an hour because one thing my mother has taught me is if you're experiencing an issue with the people at the front desk and you know that you're not in the wrong, ask for the manager. So I brought the manager. I said, can I have the manager, please? I'm talking to the manager. I'm showing her the back-end portal. I'm like, this is exactly how I booked it. I booked it through American Express. Here's the exact screenshot. I don't have an Expedia account. I say all this to say what I learned the hard way. And it's not something I should have, like I should have known this, but I think my brain again was just like fried from the prior 10 days. But what I realized was that I actually booked the Hotel Collection hotel and not a hotel within Fine Hotels and Resorts. Now, the Denso sat under the Hotel Collection, which meant that in order for that $300 credit to be activated from the Amex Platinum benefits, I would have had to book for 2 nights. And this is something that I figured out retroactively and eventually was like, all right, I'm not as upset, because at first when I checked in, they were like, you can't do early check-in, you can't do late checkout, you don't get free breakfast, you don't get your $100 credit. And I'm like, I've had this card for years. Like, I've never had this issue. It was a me problem. And so I ended up, the fact that I got it to $300.39, I think is what hurts the most. Because I was like, I did this. Like, I strategically planned this out. But anywho, the stay was still great. They did end up still giving me the 4 p.m. checkout, which was awesome because my flight wasn't until like 8 p.m. So I still got to enjoy the hotel there. I ended up having to pay for breakfast, which, whatever. It was great. It was like maybe $39, I think, for a full buffet breakfast. So that was like breakfast and lunch for me. So one thing I do whenever I do get that free breakfast benefit is I try to have that meal like as late as possible. So that's almost like a brunch. So then that takes care of breakfast and lunch, and all you got to worry about is dinner. So anywho, that was a big mistake, lesson learned, and I just had to eat it. I ended up booking a separate hotel for New Year's Eve in order to still use that credit, the $300 credit within the Amex Platinum rewards. So my husband and I, we went down to Charlotte and enjoyed a nice staycation down there. So it all worked out, but this is a lesson learned. If you have that Amex Platinum card and you are thinking of like booking a hotel, make sure you double, triple check the requirements for the hotel that you're booking and what it falls under, whether it's the Fine Hotels and Resorts or whether it's the Hotel Collection, because yeah, there's no working around it. Called Amex, talked to management, talked to supervisor, manager. They were all like, girl, it's nothing we can do about it. So that is that for today's video. I'll be back tomorrow to share more details around my Thailand adventures this year. If you are new here, please be sure to subscribe if you want to stay tuned and just learn more about my travel experiences and living your best life in your 20s and 30s, and just being intentional around how you are financially positioning yourself to live your best life. So don't forget to subscribe and like, and I will see you tomorrow.